Welcome to the Developers Integration Lab training and demonstration video for test participants. The purpose of this training video is to assist new test participants with registration, endpoint registration, certificate installation, and execution of an initial smoke test to verify configuration and communication between the test systems. The Developers Integration Lab, or the DILL, is an open source tool developed and supported by AEGIS.net for the purpose of testing interoperability among various healthcare systems. The DILL utilizes the most up-to-date standards and rules for interoperability to ensure that various gateways can communicate healthcare information with one another. Please note that the DILL is intended for use by developers and technical analysts. Onboarding with the DILL requires knowledge of certificate installation and NHIN secure endpoints. In addition, running the smoke test requires knowledge of the NHIN messaging specifications as well as knowledge of your testing system. This video should be used in conjunction with the DILL User Guide, the DILL Download Certificates Guide, and the DILL UDI Implementation Guide, all of which are available from the DILL homepage. Throughout the video, we will highlight where the documentation will be useful in completing specific steps demonstrated. Before you, the test participant, can execute tests in the DILL, there are a few things you will need. You must have a valid Home Community ID or HCID. If you do not have this, please register at www.hl7.org/OID. You must have an NHIN gateway installed on the system that you will be using to test with the DILL. Ensure that the endpoints for this gateway are exposed so that the DILL can communicate with your gateway. If you need a gateway, an open source gateway can be found at www.connectopensource.org. You will need the machine name or IP address of the machine or machines that will be used to communicate with the DILL. You will need a patient database. The DILL utilizes a prescribed set of patient test data that must be entered into your system. If you are using Connect, Connect comes with a small MPI out of the box. You will need this to enter the test patients. If you are using your own gateway, you will need to implement a master patient index and ensure that the DILL test patient data is part of the database that will be used for testing. You must allow your firewall to accept request and response messages from the DILL test machines. A complete list of machine names can be found in the DILL User Guide. Check with your system administrator to ensure the DILL may send messages to your system if you are behind a firewall. Finally, you will need the UDI connection information from AEGIS.net. This UDI connection file contains the endpoints for the DILL. You may obtain an UDI connection info.xml configuration file by contacting DILL support at AEGIS.net. Now that you have all the required information, let's get started. The first step is to register an account in the DILL. Go to the secure website lab.dill.aegis.net. This is the DILL homepage. If you click the question mark icon, you can access the documentation referenced earlier. There are links for the DILL User Guide, the DILL UDI Registration Guide, and the DILL Certificate Install Guide. Click Close to return to the DILL homepage. To register, click the Register button on the DILL homepage. Enter the security code and click Verify. Enter the registration information. Details on each field can be found in Section 2.0 of the DILL User Guide. When you have completed the information, click Save. Once the registration is successful, you will see the DILL login page. Log in with the account name and account password you just created. The next step is to configure your test system. You may create one or more test systems in the DILL. For example, you may have a system under test used by developers and another system under test used by QA analysts. The DILL allows you to create both of these systems under a single account. The only restriction is that each system must have a unique Home Community ID. Click on the Test Systems link to get started. Click Add New System. Enter a name for the test system, for example, Development Test System or Staging Test System. Specify the gateway you will be using. If you do not see your gateway listed, you can select Other and enter a short description. Most of the fields in the upper section of the screen are not required. However, you must enter a Home Community ID. Specify the profiles and actors that are supported by your test system. To narrow down the list on the left, you can select a specification from the drop-down. Highlight your choices and click Add. Specify any additional components that are part of your test system. You must specify at least one component. Once you hit Add New System, you will see a section of the screen to add the machine or machines that are part of this test system. You must add at least one machine name for this test system. You will have the opportunity to download a private certificate for each machine specified here. Click Update Test System. The next step is to download the AEGIS certificates. Click Download Certificate. This screen includes the DIL Root Certificate and the DIL CA certificate. You will also see a private certificate for each machine name entered on the prior screen. Enter a password for each private certificate. The password will be used during the installation of their certificate on your system under test. Once you save the password, the machine name will become a hyperlink. Click the machine name hyperlink to download the private certificate for that machine. Please follow the instructions in the documentation found on this page to complete the certificate installation. If you have any questions or problems during the installation process, please email us at DILLsupport@AEGIS.net. Click Close to return to the test system configuration screen. After you have successfully downloaded and installed the required certificates, the next step is to configure the profiles selected during test system configuration. Click Configure Profiles at the bottom of the test system screen. Click Configure Profile next to the desired record. On the Configure Profile screen, select the service type from the drop-down. Enter the service reference. This is the endpoint for this service. Enter the service host name. Please be sure this value matches the service host name of the service reference and that it matches the machine name entered on the test system screen. Enter the service port. Please be sure this value matches the port number of the service reference. Enter the status for the service reference. The default value is active. Enter any comments if desired. Click Add New Reference. Next, the service reference needs to be verified. In this step, the DIL will ping the service reference to ensure the endpoint is accessible. The application will also verify that the AEGIS certs have been installed on the system under test. Once you receive successful verification messages, the service reference can be published. To publish the reference, click Publish Endpoint. Depending on the profile, actor, and service type, UD publishing may not be required. In this case, the Publish button will be disabled. The Publish button will also be disabled once the service reference is successfully published. At this point in the process, AEGIS.net will need to perform some steps internally to finalize your service reference configuration. You must send an email to DILLsupport@AEGIS.net notifying the support team that you have published your endpoints in the DIL. Please include your account name. You may also include the endpoints again, but it is not necessary. Once we have completed our internal steps, the support team will notify you. Please note that once you have published your endpoints, you cannot modify them within the DIL. If the endpoints need to be updated in the DIL, please send a request to the DIL support team. Once you have received confirmation from DIL support that your configuration is completed, you are ready to run the smoke tests. The first step to running any test in the DIL is to activate the service set that includes the tests you wish to execute. To do this, log into the DIL and click the Setup Test hyperlink. First, select the specification you wish to test. The drop-down lists the specifications that are associated with your test system or systems. If only one specification is available, the value will be defaulted in the drop-down. Next, click the radio button next to the desired service set. Then select a test system. If only one test system is available, the value will be defaulted in the drop-down. Finally, click Save and Close. A dialog box will display that asks if you want to close the active service set and create a new service set. Activating a service set closes out any prior active service set. Results for closed service sets can be found on the test history screen, which we'll review later in this demonstration. Note that the selected service set is now highlighted as the active service set. To execute the tests in the active service set, click Test Execution. You will see a list of one or more scenarios included in the service set. A scenario is a collection of scenario cases or individual tests. The scenarios are then aggregated into service sets. On this screen, you can see whether a scenario is an initiator or responder scenario by the icon next to each. To execute a scenario or specific scenario case, click the hyperlink of the desired scenario. For this demonstration, we will execute the initiator smoke test scenario first. You will initiate the test from your test system. Information on the DIL endpoints needed for the initiator tests can be found in Section 3 of the DIL User Guide, or you can look up the endpoints in the UDI Connection XML file that you requested prior to the start of the registration process. Please note that although you will initiate the test from your system, you must still activate the service set and the test in the DIL prior to initiating the test. We activated the service set in the prior step. To activate the test, click the Activate button. Please note that only one test may be active at a time. Activating a test allows the DIL to show detailed results for this test. Once you have initiated the test from your system, you can refresh the test results within the DIL to see if the message was successfully received. The test is completed when you see Pass or Fail in the current result column. All other statuses indicate that the test is still in process. If a test seems to be taking a long time to complete, please check the Gateway Messages screen for any error messages. You may also review the DIL FAQ for additional information. Please be sure to research possible issues in your system prior to contacting DIL support. If you wish to re-execute a test that did not complete, please click Clear Result prior to executing the test again. To view the specific results for a test, click the test case hyperlink or the current result hyperlink. The test case current result summary page shows detailed information on the specific scenario and the validation rules or filters applied to each message. If the message passes the validation for a specific filter, there will be a green check mark in the filter status column. If a message does not pass the validation for this filter, you will see the word Fail in the field status column. Additional statuses you may see are warning, which indicate you have passed the rule, but you may want to make a change to your message to pass this particular rule. And a flag for manual review, which is an icon that looks like a hand and is a notification to the certifying body to review that particular part of the message manually to determine pass or fail status. If there are no fail statuses for either the request or the response, the overall status for the test will be pass. If there is at least one fail status for either the request or the response, the overall status for the test will be fail. You can view the filter output and filter status for each transaction. A filter is a specific rule configured within the DIL to validate particular aspects of a test message. For example, the filter template for the living subject name verifies that the living subject name found in the request message matches the value for the patient configured for this test. The filter message column gives details on the result of the application of this particular filter template or validation rule for this message. Please note that the test case current result summary page only shows the first line of the filter message. To view additional details, click the filter output column. If you click on the request or response hyperlink in the message column, you can see the specific message captured by the DIL. This is the message that was validated against the filter templates to determine if the test passed or failed. In the smoke test, there is a patient discovery, a document query, and a document retrieve test. When you are ready to run a new test, deactivate the current test and activate the desired test. If the document query returns at least one document, even if the test cases fail, you can continue to the document retrieve test. However, you will need to address the failures at some time during your testing. You will notice on the test case results summary screen for a retrieve documents test that there is a rule input column with a request or response XML hyperlink as appropriate to the message type. Because retrieve document messages are multi-part, the original message itself is not in an XML format. You can view the original message just like you did for other tests by clicking the hyperlink in the message column, but you will need to open the message in an application like TextPad. To view the XML portion of the message without the document information, click on the hyperlink in the Rules input column. To view the attachment that was received, go to the Documents Retrieved section of that page. Click on the Document Unique ID hyperlink. To execute a responder scenario in which the DIL will initiate a message to your test system, click the hyperlink for the desired scenario from the Active Test Results page. As you can see, this screen looks the same as the initiator test scenario with one exception. You, as the test participant, will see the execute function, which you would not see for an initiator test scenario. To execute the test, simply click Execute. The screen will automatically refresh, or you can click Refresh to see the latest results. Click the case result value to view the detailed test results. When you have completed your testing for this particular service set and you are ready to submit the results to a validating body, select the service set on the Setup Test screen by checking the radio button next to the service set. Click Save and Submit. The test results will now be available to a representative of the certifying body. Now let's look at some other features of the DIL. Once a service set has been closed or submitted, you can access the results of that test from the Test History screen. If the service set is still active, the results are accessible from the Test Execution function. The Gateway Messages screen is another navigation path to test results. In addition, if a test has resulted in an error or is stuck in a non-complete state, you can view the message on the Gateway Messages screen and determine if there is a specific error. If the message is not available on the Gateway Messages screen, it means the message has not been received by the DIL gateway. You can search and sort the messages on this page to facilitate researching. The Test Harness screen lists the home community IDs, specifications, and machine names for the DIL environments. The FAQ page gives information on various issues and problems that may arise during test case execution. You also have the ability to change your DIL user password by clicking on the Change Password hyperlink. Now you're ready to get started. Remember that your first step is to gather the information outlined in the User Requirements section of the DIL User Guide.